Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and today we are finishing up our first round matchups in the Eastern Conference. If you haven't watched my other playoff previews, make sure to check that out, of course, after today's video. So let's get right into it. We have a huge battle in the Sunshine State. The Florida Panthers, the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is as good as it gets, baby. We're seeing them match up once again. The two most recent matchups have gone the way of the Tampa Bay Lightning. But the Florida Panthers, coming into this series, they have something to prove. And I think if they win a Stanley Cup in 2024, that cup run, they know they are going to have to go through the Tampa Bay Lightning some way or another. And I think that getting it done in the first round is the best thing for the Panthers. Before the Lightning get on the train and get going, they got to find a way to beat these Bolts. For the Lightning, listen, for the last month and a half, we've seen some really good hockey from their guys. Their big guys are scoring and producing, and I think a little bit underrated because everyone's thinking of those old Tampa teams, and they're thinking, nah, this isn't that team anymore. Hold your horse on that. We'll talk about that today. So, let's take a look at 5-on-5. What's the matchup between these two teams? Tampa Bay is definitely the favorable team here in special teams. The Florida Panthers don't want to go to the penalty box. This is not the series against Tampa Bay with the star power they have. You do not want to go against them in the power play. They have a really lethal one. Avoid the penalties at all costs for the Panthers. I know they like to play tough and down dirty and get that gritty sandpaper. You got to tone that down just a little bit because the Lightning will take advantage of that. In terms of the last 10 games, this was a really interesting thing I saw. Okay, now this is the last 10 games of sample size, and there's no errors here. This is a legit. So Kucherov has 17 assists in the past 10 games. And Stamkos has 11 goals in the last 10 games. So, that should be pretty telling. These guys are on fire right now. You really want to make sure you find a way to shut those guys down because they have been the point production machine for the Tampa Bay Lightning here down the stretch. 17 assists for Kucherov in the last 10 games. Just take that in perspective. That is just under 2 assists per game. That's scary. And somebody has to be scoring those goals that he's getting the assists from too, right? So, remember that. The Panthers. Tarasenko, Barkov, and Reinhart. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think that's the best line in the National Hockey League right now. Power play, 5-on-5. That line is incredible. Reinhart is having an unreal season, a 55, 56 goal season. What is he at now? He might even get to 60 at this point. Who even knows, right? Even with the regular season being over, he might still hit 60 goals because he has been scoring at will. He has been so good for the Florida Panthers. You know what you're getting from Alexander Barkov, and one of the more underrated additions at the trade deadline. I think Tarasenko has come in and really helped solidify the Florida Panthers forward group. Huge pickup there, and that line, like I said, might be the hottest and the best line going into the Stanley Cup playoffs right now. Now, I also want to mention here as well, I think going into the playoffs, the Baby Barkov, I'm calling him, Baby Barkov, which is Anton Lundell. He's been really good. He's been red hot for the Panthers, not only for scoring goals, but also just his play, his tenacity on the boards, puck battles. He's really solid there. And I think that the Panthers are starting to see and reap the rewards of that first round pick in Lundell. And it's really paying off because this kid is talented. And the Florida Panthers have a good one there. I'm really interested to see how he plays against some of those tough guys on the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think Lundell could be the difference maker for the Florida Panthers. So yeah, you know, another thing that's really important in this series, I really like the Florida Panthers' depth. And Luis is going to love that I'm talking about his Panthers here in a good way, because you look at this team, I mean, you know, what's interesting is, you know, you expect the top line to be scoring for the Florida Panthers, right? But look at the lineup here. This is your third and fourth line. Your third line, Eetu Luostarinen, 5 assists. Lundell, 4 goals and 2 assists. Now he's on the top power play, I believe, but still, that's 6 points. Evan Rodriguez, Jona Gajovic, all right. That you know what you're getting from him. Even Kevin Stenlund got a semi-breakaway goal the other day. Nick Cousins is putting up points, and he's a pain in the ass. So right now, the Florida Panthers just seem to have that mojo. The real difference in this series, though, is the matchup in between the pipes. Andrei Vasilevsky versus Sergei Bobrovsky. Can Bobrovsky pull off the magic that he did last season? Now, for the most part, the last couple games, he has been able to do that, other than some little moments where, the first 10 minutes of the game versus Buffalo, he gave up a pair of goals, but then the rest of the game, he played really well. And then, he had a shot. I believe he had a shutout the next game, but that's not the point. The way he's been playing, he's been keeping the Panthers in games, and that's all you could ask for. Now, you know what you're getting from Vasi. Andrei Vasilevsky is, if there's a goalie you want in the Stanley Cup playoffs, it's Andrei Vasilevsky. I don't care what other goalie out there is playing hot right now or whatever it is. I'm taking Vasi every time. And he is going to be huge for the Lightning in this series. They need him to be the Andrei Vasilevsky that we know he is capable of being if the Lightning are going to win this series. So yeah, a lot of interesting things to look at, like I said, for really the key players to look at for each team. I'm going with Reinhart and Lundell for the Panthers, and the guys to watch for Tampa, pretty obvious. It's Kucherov and Stamkos. They are on a ripper right now. Those guys, when those guys are hot, they're hot, and they're steaming hot, and to the point where you can't touch them. That's going to be a tough matchup for the Panthers. Now, the Panthers have a couple of injuries. A couple guys banged up down the stretch. Hopefully, Ekblad is back for the playoffs. Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Hopefully, those guys are back. They need them back for the playoffs, which I think they are. They were just dinged up and bruised. So, in terms of how this series can go, I mean, this is another one. I just talked about the Panthers, the Bruins and the Leafs series. And this series is very similar, right? A lot of recent, rich history between these two teams. You've got the Tampa Bay Lightning that have been pretty dominant in the most two recent series. They've got a couple cups under their belt. The Panthers didn't have to go through Tampa last year. They made it to the Stanley Cup final. Things didn't end the way they would have liked, but, the Panthers are legit now. And, like I said, this is the type of series where you don't want special teams to play a factor. And if the Panthers want to stay out of the box, they have to control play 5-on-5. And like I said, if we start seeing a lot of penalties thrown around back and forth and makeup calls and this and that, I think it's going to go Tampa's way. Like I said, though, for the Florida Panthers, kind of like the Leafs. If the Leafs want to win a Stanley Cup, they're going to have to go through the Boston Bruins. For the Florida Panthers, I think the rite of passage is going through their in-state rival Tampa Bay Lightning. And that is why I am picking the Florida Panthers to knock off the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs in 7 games. It's going to be an incredible series. I love the Tampa Bay Lightning. Going against the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Stanley Cup playoffs, you're not a good betting man if you're doing that. But I'm going with my heart on this one. I truly believe the Florida Panthers, this is a good hockey team. Top to bottom, depth scoring. Anton Lundell is on your third freaking line. They have the hottest line overall in the entire National Hockey League with Sam Reinhart, Barkov, and Tarasenko. The key thing is, can Bobrovsky do it again in the playoffs? If Bobrovsky can do it again in the playoffs, the Florida Panthers win this series. So that's my prediction. Shout out to Luis. He's my Florida Panthers fan here at Goal Line Hockey. I know he is going to be happy with my prediction, but I want to know your predictions. Do you guys think? Shout out to Mitchell, my Tampa Bay Lightning fan here. Who do you guys think is going to win this series? Let me know down below. Make sure to check out the rest of our playoff preview videos also here on the channel as we get ready for the first round of the playoffs and through the rest of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Make sure to do that. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you again next time. Peace out, guys.